has been bitterly cold for days now, but that hasn't stopped snowmobile enthusiasts from getting outside and making the most of all this snow. So today on Blue Sky, we're connecting with the sledding community across the province. We'll take you to Kelvington to learn about a provincial snowmobiling festival. We'll go all the way to Grandmother's Bay to hear how snowmobiles are used for work and for play. And we'll check in with a motorsport store in Saskatchewan where business is booming with all the snow this year. But we also want to hear from you. Are you a member of Saskatchewan's snowmobile community? Maybe you're one of the volunteers that groom some of the thousands of kilometres of trail we have in this province. So give us a call, 1-800-716-2221. You can also email bluesky@cbc.ca. Leah Switzer is the executive director of the Saskatchewan Snowmobile Association. She's an avid sledder, and she'll be our guest this hour. She's in our Regina studio. Leah, welcome to Blue Sky.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about the Saskatchewan Snowmobile Association.
Well, the Saskatchewan Snowmobile Association is responsible for all of the groomed and signed trails throughout the province. So we currently have about 11,260 some kilometers worth of trail out across the province.
That's a lot of trail.
That's a lot of trail. Sask Wanderer just did a piece on us, and actually it's equivalent to driving the Trans-Canada highway from one coast to the other is 7,000 kilometers for a perspective. And I was like,
wow,
that's pretty insane.
Yeah, the Sask Wanderer made it look pretty cool, pretty fun. I saw the video and it looks gorgeous. Does that mirror the experiences that you've had on a sled here in Saskatchewan?
Well, I was actually with him in that.
Oh, okay, that was you.
Yeah. So that's the Hudson Bay area. Very beautiful because, of course, you're in the forest there, right?
Yeah.
But that's the cool thing about our province is we have such a variety of terrain. You can go from the forest to the rolling hills to the open prairie. You can just see it all, right?
So was that his first time sledding? I'm wondering what you shared about the experience with someone who was tagging along with you.
He's actually been out with us before in his history as Sask Wanderer. So it is fun taking somebody that's relatively new to it. They seeing the joy on their faces when they're out riding and they don't ride often is a really neat experience.
So the Snowmobile Association is in charge of all that trail. What else does the association do?
So our member clubs, so we have 63 member clubs throughout the province. 52 of those are responsible for the snowmobile trails in Saskatchewan. So those are independent nonprofit organizations run by volunteers that are members of us that we work with to make sure that they're help them maintaining the trails, the shelters, and all their funding passes through our association to them.
And do you do some education too with folks?
For sure. Yeah, we have both on the club side, there's groomer training as well as sign training. And then on the public side, we man the snowmobile safety course in Saskatchewan. So there's both an online portion as well as a classroom portion that you can take.
Okay, we'll get more into the safety, especially on a day like this when it's so cold. I want to talk to you about that. But before we get to that, I want to hear a bit more of your own story. What drew you to this sport in the first place?
Honestly, I grew up snowmobiling. I came from a family that's what we did. My dad had a snowmobile. I snowmobiled all throughout growing up. And then I kind of fell into the job I'm in, and it just kind of worked.
It just kind of worked. Well, it's good to do something that you're passionate about. So you're in our Regina studio today.
Yeah.
Would you typically be sledding in that part of the province? Like I know you were up in with the Sask Wanderer in another part of the province, but where would you typically go sledding?
Well, our office is actually located in Regina Beach. So that would be my home area for riding is that Regina Beach, Last Mountain Lake area.
Okay, so tell me about the terrain there. I know what it's like in the summertime, but if I was on a sled, take me with you.
It is very neat because just right at Regina Beach there, you can go down kind of like the train trestle and there is a shelter there. You can also cross the lake and go all the way up to like Earl Grey and connect into the next system, which is Cupars Trails.
Nice. And I know you've got a daughter with you today watching from the other side. So is it a family affair now for you and your kids?
Yeah, I have had my kids out a few times. They're not as big into the snowmobiling. And you know what? It's life. Life gets busy, and it's a little bit harder to get them out. The one in the studio with me is away at university for most of the year.
Okay. Will you get her out on a sled today or this week, do you think?
If it warms up. Right now it's a little cold.
Yeah. So too cold for you, hey?
Yep.
Well, it's interesting because depending on where you are in the province, you could have a totally different type of snowmobile experience. Because if you live in northern Saskatchewan, snowmobiles aren't just for recreation. But don't take my word for it. Gerald McKenzie is a band counselor at Grandmother's Bay. That's 5 hours north of Saskatoon. Gerald is an avid snowmobiler, and he's on the line right now. Gerald, welcome to Blue Sky.
Good afternoon.
So tell me about the role snowmobiling has played in your life.
Most of the winter, I'm either snowmobiling or having fun on the ice. Anyway, I'm a trapper. I do some fishing, and I do some netting, and I travel to the cabin quite a bit. I travel many miles on different snowmobiles, and I also burn wood still. So I go get my wood in the bush, and the trapping takes me all over the place. Yeah.
I'm sure. Do you have a different sled depending on the activity?
Yes, when it's leisurely, when I go fishing, it's usually the smaller machines. But we have 4 machines that we use, and for hauling wood and checking the net, it's or hauling a bunch of stuff. It's a big white track machine we use.
And how big is that sled? Maybe can you describe it a bit for me? Like just how big?
It's a Viking 1000, and it's a white track. It's got like a case under the seat that you can store stuff. It's got a big rack in the back that you can also store equipment.
And how, you would probably consider your snowmobile your lifeline to be able to trap, to be able to collect wood. Like, just how important is a sled to someone who's living in northern Saskatchewan?
The further north you go, the more dependent on the sleighs they have, because they do a lot of hunting up north for us. We go moose hunting, caribou hunting, so it's a lifeline. It's for us to go get our wild food that a lot of us have a healthy diet and moose meat and caribou meat, so we depend on it a lot. And during trapping season, we usually put snares up as well, and for rabbits, and trap for beaver for bait, and also for our meat consumption.
And would a day like today, I don't know exactly what the temperature is right now in L'Orange, but we've just been dealing with such a cold snap in Saskatchewan these last few days. On a day like today, would you still be heading out? Does cold weather ever get in the way of you getting out?
It takes a special machine for that. And the ones with the pull start are the ones that start. The 2-stroke machines are the ones that usually run. The 4-strokes have a hard time getting going if you're a trapper, unless you have a generator handy. You either got a block heater on the 4-stroke machine. You need that in the north, a block heater for sure, so you can plug in your machine for a few hours before you start it up. The 2-strokes, they'll start. They'll start any time. The Bravo was a good machine. The Voyager 500, their pull start, their trapping machine. Those ones will run in any weather as well. So those are the kind of machines we use when it gets this cold. We just finished a poker rally here too. We had over 2,300 hand souls. So we had a lot of snowmobilers on the weekend, and they braved the weather. It was minus 40, 42 here the past few days. This morning it was 39, and I jumped in the truck. Probably wind chill at 41, I do believe. Wasn't much of a wind, but there's still snowmobiles going by.
What exactly happens at a poker rally?
Well, we got stations in different places. We got 3 stations around the lake, Otter Lake. So all the snowmobilers, they go from station to station. They pick a hand. They pick a card from every station, and they go and then they get back to the hall. Then they pick their final card, and then they try to make a hand from 5 cards. Right? It's playing just like playing poker.
So pretty fun time.
Oh, it was great. It was great. I went around twice because I had to go around. I had to be the last rider, so make sure everybody got in safely, right?
Yeah. And are these kinds of festivals or gatherings that the snowmobile community has? Do you usually try to raise some money?
Yes, that's a fundraiser for our school. We after we raise enough money, the kids can get a chance to go down south into a hill to go so they can go skiing. Is their skiing trip usually? We fund their skiing trip for that fundraiser.
And did you bring in some good money this past weekend then?
Well, yes, we did. We did good this time, so they could probably stay a few more days.
Lucky them. I want to ask you just a little bit more about what it's like to be sledding to these, I'm assuming, like fairly remote parts of the province. Like, what other safety considerations do you have to make before you head out?
Well, when you got to make sure your machine's in tip-top shape. I have mine outside most of the winter, so I take all the ice out from underneath. I run the tracks, and I make sure all the boogie wheels are running. Nothing is broken underneath. If we run coolant, make sure our coolant is full. Make sure our belts, we have a spare belt. Make sure we have safety gear, that spare gear, that the extra shoes, extra socks, extra pants, socks, gloves. You have to make sure you have those. You have your first aid kit.
Food and water?
Extra thick gloves for sure. I don't usually take water with me because I just a little pot with matches because water will freeze anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But do you make sure you have some food with you too?
We make sure we have some granola bars and some jerky with us so that we get overnight. We can have a little bit of food. Then we just melt snow or whatever. Yeah.
Have you ever encountered any problems, or have you had to help anybody out who got into some trouble being out sledding?
Yeah, we pulled out a lot of people from they're stuck in slush or in a shoreline, deep snow. I've experienced a breakdown myself. The snow machine sprocket broke, and I couldn't fix it because it was cracked in half. And then I walked out 25 miles. Took me 9 hours to get to the highway.
Oh my gosh!
It was in a snow blizzard too. It was -45 with the snow blizzard happening, but I managed to get out of there.
Well, my goodness, that sounds pretty intense. Overall,
you got to be in good shape too if you're going to be a snowmobiler.
Yeah,
if you're going to go far, right? If you're going to go far, you got to make sure you can walk back that distance.
I guess so. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Overall, how have conditions been this year?
They've been excellent. There's hardly any slush around. It's been like we've had quite a bit of snow come down, but it hasn't really slushed up. The cold weather has been nice to us. The last 2 weeks has been cold here, so it's most of the slush is froze. When we went around Poker Alley this past weekend, there was no slush at all.
Well, that's good to hear. Gerald, it's been nice kind of going along for a ride with you today. I appreciate you telling me what it's like to snowmobile up north. So thanks for being one of our guests.
All right. Thank you.
Take care. That's Gerald McKenzie. He's a band counselor at Grandmother's Bay, has 4 sleds, all have a different purpose. In our Regina studio is Leah Switzer. She's executive director with the Saskatchewan Snowmobile Association. Leah, do you want to talk a little bit about safety and what people... I want to know what people need to know before they head out, but before you even get to that stage, do you need a license to drive a sled?
You do. So anybody born on or after January 1st, 1989 does need a snowmobile safety course. As well as a valid driver's license. So if you had a suspended license or you don't have your license, you actually technically cannot operate a snowmobile either. So if you're under the age of 16, youth from the ages of 12 to 16 can ride without having the valid driver's license as long as they have a snowmobile safety course and they're accompanied by a rider with a valid driver's license and they're within 50 meters. There's like a few little rules involved in there. But it is a nice way to introduce youth into the sport in a safe manner that they can learn how to operate it properly and they're with people, that type of thing. But yeah, the rules of snowmobiling actually really mimic the rules of the road as well. So anything that you can't do driving a car, you pretty much can't do riding a snowmobile.
Right. Are you supposed to stay on the trails? Like, what are the rules around that? And I'm even thinking about private property and all of that.
Right. So here in Saskatchewan, we definitely promote staying on the trail just because a great portion of our trails is private land. So those landowners have given permission just for that trail. So if you leave the trail, you're actually trespassing if you haven't gotten permission from that private landowner. If you're up in the crown lands or in the highway ditches, you're fine to be in those areas. Like, you don't need extra permissions. You can ride off trail in those areas. But it can be hard to differentiate exactly where you are sometimes. So we definitely promote the staying on the trail.
If someone leaves the trail, it's private property. Could they be fined?
Yes, they could be charged with trespassing.
Yeah. And what kind of a fee, what kind of fine is that?
That one, I don't have the number on it. It's one of the ones like a judge would set it.
Okay, so it could depend, but there are consequences.
There's consequences, definitely. The
rules.
trespass legislation changed here a couple of years ago. The government brought it in. So it used to be that the landowner had to post their land as no trespassing. They now no longer are required to post their land. You just must get permission.
Okay. I'm speaking with Leah Switzer today. She is Executive Director of the Saskatchewan Snowmobile Association. And we want to hear from you, our listeners, people who like to get out there and snowmobile in Saskatchewan. So give us a call today, 1-800-716-2221. You can also email bluesky@cbc.ca. We got a note from Keith who writes, snowmobiling is so much fun, especially with a nice machine. Most people follow the rules when it comes to harassing wildlife, but many will chase and even kill animals. This is illegal and not cool. He asks if clubs educate members on illegal harassment of wildlife. Leah, I'll ask you about that.
As an association, we definitely promote respectful riding, and that is respecting wildlife. We do not condone that in any form, and those people, you can be charged as well by conservation for that one.
Okay. Well, give us a call today, 1-800-716-2221. You can also email bluesky@cbc.ca. Bart Hartle is the president of the Kelvington Trailblazers. That group is hosting a provincial snowmobile festival this weekend. It is called Snow Place I Would Rather Be, and he's on the line now. Hi, Bart.
Hello.
That's a great name. Snow Place I Would Rather Be. Is that did you come up with that?
Actually, I cannot take credit for that one. We had a good group of club members that kind of put together, chaired the committee, and that's what they came up with and presented to myself and the rest of the executive. And they're like, it sounds great. Let's roll with it. So
Let's do it.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your club. How many members do you have? How many kilometers of trail do you maintain?
So we have, an active list of about 23, 24 members. We do have several volunteers that come and go without an actual membership. They just show up and help out whenever they can. So, there's probably a list of about 45, 50 people that show up and help out, but only 23 are actually have paid members, and the rest are executive. Like any small little club, a lot of times we got the same 12 or 13 people at the meetings, our 5 executive and then the 5 usuals plus a couple others. So that's what we have for an executive for members, but we have maintained about 435 kilometers of trail, plus or minus, in there on an annual basis.
And what does it take to actually maintain the trails?
Well, the first off is getting permission from the landowners, because a lot of our trails cross private land. So that's what we do, is we're out there getting permission from our landowners, either before the trail goes in or, following up a phone call saying, hey, anything new out there, make sure there's no crop left out there or any other hidden dangers that we need to be aware of, so we can, mark the trail appropriately. And then, you sit there and wait patiently for the snow. So while you're doing that, you're maintaining your snow equipment, our wide tracks, our sleds and all that we use for putting the trail in, get them all ready to go. And then when the snow comes, and we hit her hard with as many volunteers we can get our hands on to put the trail in there. So we're signing it according to the trail guide and all that, and making sure that the ice is thick enough for all the lakes and creeks and the swamps that we cross. We're out there checking the ice and all that. So sometimes if guys are looking at an interactive map, wondering why section trail isn't open, it's not fit, because there could be, private landowner might have something up there that we can't cross or go around yet. Making sure that the ice is thick enough, making sure there's enough snow, and having enough volunteers to get the signs out there in a timely fashion to open the trail system up in the first place.
And does it take a particular sled to do the grooming?
The grooming, there are different tools out there. So we have some Prenoth, like a Prenoth Husky. It's like a 225 horse twin track machine, and it is pulling a great big 10-foot by 25-foot long drag or 35-foot long drag. We also have another Prenoth Bison, so it's 350 horse pulling just a little bit bigger drag and all that. So we're maintaining a trail that's 10 feet wide, so it's safe for two snowmobiles to pass each other on, safely, because this is two-way traffic that we're running on all the time. So
right.
There is some specialized equipment. There are some other clubs that run tractors on tracks and stuff like that, but for the most part, most clubs are using equipment similar to ours.
Yeah,
so,
and I'm assuming it costs to maintain that equipment. And didn't you have to build a shed or like a shop to keep the equipment?
Yeah, so we were very fortunate. Our community has helped us out a lot. Because of the value of the equipment that we have to maintain the trail system, and we've got 7 wide tracks. We got a couple of ATVs. We got Argo Centaur. We got these 2 Snowcats and their drags and all that. So we got a fairly big building that we heat all year round, and it's actually eased the maintenance costs, because what we were looking at as a club is, we're having repair bills, maintenance bills, $40,000 to $50,000 annually on all of our equipment. So when we went ahead and built our own shop so we can house our equipment, our repair bills got cut in half because of that. So now we're averaging around $25,000 annual maintenance bill on all of our equipment, which is significant. So we just rolled that into the building itself, and we built that with volunteers. A lot of we purchased material, but volunteers helped build it. So it's again, a testament to our communities, what they do for us as a club and all that, and what we do for the community. So
I'm Leisha Grabinski. This is Blue Sky. I'm talking with some snowmobile enthusiasts, including Bart Hartle, who's the president of the Kelvington Trailblazers. Bart, this forecast, would you go out in weather like that we've got today? Would you go out?
Like today, I have in the past, having all the right gear and all that, it is quite doable, but it's one of those things where is the risk worth the reward of what you're doing? So if you guys out there trying to maintain a substance living, then yeah. But if you're just going out there for pleasure, it's one of the things if you're prepared for it, what the risks are. Mm-hmm. I guess you could. I have in the past. Nowadays, as a guy gets older, I just choose to stay inside on days like this.
Yeah, I guess the risk is getting stuck, and then being stuck out there, and
equipment failures.
Like Gerald, who had to walk 25 miles or whatever he said, or 20. I don't know what it was. It was long. It was far longer than I'd be willing to walk.
I was fortunate. Years ago, this was about 20 years ago. I was out there riding in 45 below without the windshield, and the gas froze up. The sled didn't break down, just the gas would not pump through the sled. And so I walked about 5 miles and came back about a couple hours later and walked back and fired the sled up because it warmed up, and away we went.
Oh, gosh. So don't do it, though, unless you're experienced and prepared for the worst, I guess.
Exactly.
So tell us about the event that's happening this weekend, Snow Place I Would Rather Be. What exactly is taking place?
So this is a provincial festival, which is held in a new community every year. It changes throughout the whole province. And this year, our scheduled events is Friday night from 4 o'clock till midnight. We've got, registration guys can come in and check in and get registered. They're all registered online ahead of time. It's just a matter of checking in. Supper, we're going to have at 6 o'clock, supper and salads, just kind of a light evening social gathering. So a lot of these people, that's the only time they see each other is at the festival. So just meet and greet and talk to everyone, catch up on the past. And then we're going to have some bucket draws and some silent auction items out there guys can look at, start bidding on. And then we're going to have some lumberjack games. We're going to do some log sawing events, stuff like that. Just kind of some fun games with not the real tools. We'll just have some plastic foam axe throwing, stuff like that. And then we've got some shuttle services available for people that are coming in so they can get back to their community, so they can enjoy the evening, have a safe ride back to wherever they're staying. So we got some shuttles running to, Greenwater, Marine Lake areas, Calvington areas, surrounding areas. So people need a safe ride home. There's a safe ride there. Shuttles will also pick them up in the morning and bring them in for breakfast if they need. So on Saturday, we've got a pancake breakfast from 8 till 10. And then we'll provide them with a trail lunch, and people can go riding from 10 o'clock till 5 o'clock. They can just self-guide themselves wherever they want to go, or we can provide a guide for them if they want. And then from 5 to 6, we have Sappy Hour starting. And then, staff sound great. And then we got our banquet supper starts at 6 o'clock with smoked brisket and all the fixings to go along with it. So that's going to be good. And then 8 o'clock, we have our essay speeches and awards. And then 9 o'clock, we got a live band. So we got a full menu of items to keep everyone entertained, along with what our club is known for is our bucket draw prizes. Like, we're talking in excess of $10,000 worth of bucket draw prizes. Like, they're coming in all the time. And then plus our silent auction items on top of that. So,
and then where does the money go? Because this is a fundraiser, right? So what is the money for?
So the money is all back to maintaining our equipment, our trails and all that, building new shelters if something happens. Like, we are an older club. We've been around for 38 years, and a lot of our shelters that are out there just need to be updated. Like, they've been there a long time. They're old granaries that were donated to us back in the early 80s and put out there, and they're just not to the size, of scope, and safety means of today. So new shelters, the trail maintenance equipment, that's the biggest cost. A new groomer, you're looking at $400,000 just for the snowcat itself, not including the grooming equipment. So the trail funding, as Leah alluded to earlier, is, helps pay our clubs for cover some of the costs, but it only covers about 40% of the costs that the club incurs on an annual basis. So the rest of the funding comes from fundraising events. Like we had earlier this month, we had our own snowmobile derby that we have annually. And then this year we're doubling down with the festival to help raise some more funds for upgrading our equipment and all that. So we're trying to look at upgrading some more of our big snowcats.
So how would you describe the snowmobile community? Like the event that you're talking about this weekend, I mean, it sounds like a blast. It sounds like a very Saskatchewan way to spend a weekend. But the people, like, what have you learned about the community that surrounds snowmobiling?
They're from all walks of life. And a lot of them look at snowmobiling and following the festival primarily is a chance to go to new communities, see new things, and see things you can't see any other way in an environmentally sustainable manner. You can cross frozen lakes and go see something you can't see in the summertime. You can cross swamps. You can see wildlife safely. It's all about promoting what is out there, what's happened, and to do that in a sustainable manner. If you're looking at ATVs or horseback riding, they don't have access to a lot of the areas in a sustainable manner to the environment. So some people, it's all about sustainability. Other people, it's, they grew up doing it, so they keep doing it, so they don't understand why. And we like to promote the safety of the sport, the sustainability of it, access to land that you would normally not otherwise see. And, we're fortunate enough that we're actually putting up some points of interest. So a little plug out there to anyone coming out, go check out the points of interest along the trail system. They tell a lot of the story of the history of the past. And that's what we're trying to preserve, the history of what's going on with old homesteads, old logging roads, old logging sites and all that, old sawmills, stuff like that. Trying to preserve the history so we can showcase the hardships that our people that came to the country in the first place, what they had to endure just to get us to where we are today. And without seeing it firsthand, it's pretty hard to understand what those people endured in these remote areas, because they were all throughout the whole province. So it's interesting.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, Bart, it's been great talking to you. Have a great time at the festival this weekend. I appreciate this. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
That is Bart Hartle, the president of the Calvington Trailblazers. That group is hosting a provincial snowmobile festival this weekend. It is called Snow Place I Would Rather Be. In our Regina studio is Leah Switzer. She is executive director with the Saskatchewan Snowmobile Association. Leah, do you get out to many of these events? Do you have a favorite snowmobile gathering?
I do attend the provincial festival every year. It is a SSA, like a Saskatchewan Snowmobile Association event that the clubs bid on to us actually to get, and they move around. So I do attend that one every year. It's always great. Every community has its own spin, and it's always a good time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do get around to some of the other events. The next weekend, I'll actually be in Yorkton for the Easter Seals Snow-O-Rama. So the fundraiser for Camp Easter Seals.
Oh, nice. And what makes that gathering unique? Do they have any kind of theme or what?
They don't have a theme, but you have wing night registration on Friday night. They give you a pancake breakfast. You ride to Good Spirit Provincial Park. They feed you lunch. They gas you up with co-op fuel right there on site. And and you go back. You have a banquet that night, and it's all a fundraiser for Easter Seals. And the amount of money that people raise to participate is just amazing. It is a true Saskatchewan fundraiser.
Lovely. People listening, I'm sure you have stories of being out there sledding. Give us a call today, 1-800-716-2221. You can also email bluesky@cbc.ca. Tell us what you love about snowmobiling, what you love about the community that surrounds it. Again, 1-800-716-2221. You can also email bluesky@cbc.ca. Well, there's no business like snow business, and all the snow this year has been great news for people who sell snowmobiles. Burke Barber is a sales manager at Fun Motorsports in Saskatoon, and I caught up with him at work.
How's it going today?
Hey, I'm well, thanks. I'm guessing you'd rather be out sledding instead of being at work right now.
Absolutely. Even with the cold weather, man, I would love to be ripping up some snow right now.
So what kind of a year has it been for snowmobile sales?
It's been pretty good. There was definitely some pent-up demand from last year with just kind of our poor snow conditions. So people have been really hyped up. There's been lots of really good excitement in the showroom, and a lot of people really fired up to get out there.
So a good year for sales.
Absolutely, yes.
Do you know how many snowmobiles your business has sold this year?
I haven't actually ran the numbers, but we'll be on track for, at least a couple hundred already.
And that's more than last year?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Because last year sucked. Like there just wasn't snow. Remind us what last year was like.
Last year, there was about 3 riding days in the province for the whole winter. It was not good.
That's it, hey?
Yeah, like if you were really on the ball and you kind of capitalized on like weekdays where there was some freak storms, you might have got, 5 days, 10 days absolute max.
Wow. And how many times have you been out this year?
I think I have just over 1,500 kilometers on already, just in this province alone.
Oh, wow. So what makes really great conditions for snowmobiling? Like, I mean, obviously you need snow, but what's a perfect day to be out?
Oh man, my kind of image of a perfect day is like -15, maybe -10, nice sunny blue skies. And maybe if you're really lucky, a fresh dusting of snow, but that temperature keeps the snow nice and soft, makes it nice and kind of sugary, and lets you go have some fun and keeps those trails just perfect tabletop smooth.
We've had some really cold weather lately. Is it ever too cold to head out?
I mean, that's all up kind of to the rider. I mean, if I really want to go, I'm going whether it's -40 or not.
Do you have the gear for it? Like, what does it take to protect yourself from the cold?
Yeah, actually, that's one thing that's like, really come a long way along with the snowmobiles is the new gear these days is just incredible. You stay perfectly dry. You can stay perfectly warm, even up to, like I said, that -40. They have all sorts of different layering, right from base layer all the way up to your shell, and makes it much more enjoyable to be outside all day long, no matter the conditions.
So does some of that stuff get pricey?
It can, for sure. If you want the really good stuff, I mean, you can be talking up to a couple $1,000 for like a top of the line Skidoo suit.
And what does a snowmobile cost these days?
Same thing. It kind of depends how aggressive you want to get. The top of the line machines, I mean, they're coming with factory turbos on them, 180 horsepower nowadays. Those things are going to run you $25,000, almost to $30,000. But if you're a newbie just getting into the sport and you just want a good, reliable, nice machine that's going to kind of do everything well, I mean, you can still spend $12,000 to $15,000, and that's going to get you a really nice little Skidoo.
I don't want to bring down the mood, but I'm sure you're aware of the impending trade war happening with the USA. I'm wondering how that could potentially affect your line of work.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly can. We as so we sell Skidoo, which is a offshoot of Bombardier. They are out of Quebec, so we're lucky in that sense where it's a Canadian brand. It should help with some of the tariff stuff, but yeah, it's definitely one of those big question marks that we're all kind of looking at right now.
And are you seeing people yet asking about the manufacturing of the snowmobiles? Like, are they looking for a Canadian product like Skidoo?
I definitely have people asking about the tariffs and stuff. I wouldn't say I see a big sweep as far as like people going, oh, it's Canadian. No, I really want to get in on that. It's always kind of been a thing with us where you kind of have the Canadian pride, and that's why people shop with us, and that's kind of why Skidoo is one of the biggest brands. But I haven't seen a huge transition as far as like people coming over from other brands to ours because of that just yet.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see what happens. So I understand that new models are coming out right away. This is the time of year where you start to see the new bells and whistles. What makes the new models different?
It is. We don't know yet. They keep that very lock and key, even to the dealers such as myself here. That's going to happen on February 19th. We're all very excited. Every single year, they hype it up big time. It's always kind of this big show, and they come out with these crazy videos and all the new stuff, and it's just a lot of fun to watch.
So I mean, I know this is your business, but do you find yourself constantly wanting to upgrade?
Of course. I have to sit in the showroom all day, every day, and stare at these shiny new things. And I always joke around, like, basically, I get paid and I just hand my paycheck right back and go, all right, well, I need parts. I need a new machine, whatever it is.
Yeah. So where do most of your customers come from? You're based in Saskatoon, but I'm guessing they come from all over. Do you get a lot from the north?
Yeah, we get a lot of northern Saskatchewan for sure, but it's kind of the province as a whole. There are dealerships kind of spread out throughout the province, and that's just for the Skidoo brand, let alone, again, the other brands. But we do get a lot of northern Saskatchewan. We get a lot of Saskatoon. We get a lot of that Candle, Emma, Crystal Lake, that sort of area. It's a big spot for riding.
So I'm guessing, depending on where people live, they need a snowmobile for different purposes, right? Like some people just want to get out and have some fun. Some people need it as a form of transportation. Like in the north, sometimes they'll go and grab a few groceries. They're using it to head out to a cabin. Do you get a sense of just how differently people might use a snowmobile based on where they live?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like you get people coming out of the far north, like let's say like Black Lake and Uranium City, they'll be coming all the way down from there, which I mean is 8 hours straight north almost. And those people are coming down here and saying, this is my daily driver. I'm going to haul a sleigh with it. I'm going to put firewood in it, fishing gear, that sort of thing. So they're getting these big work machines that are literally a tool for them. And then you'll get kind of like the weekend warrior style where they're showing up and they just want a toy. They want something super fast, tons of fun. They want to go do wheelies. They want to go carve up some snow. They want to hit the trails, that sort of thing. So it's a really diverse group of people riding. And there's kind of a machine to do anything that you could possibly think of.
Well, our producer Nicole was mentioning like search and rescue teams up north would have to use snowmobiles. So even that would be a unique use. Another example possibly of what would search and rescue need in a snowmobile? You know, if you were selling to them, what would they need?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's all sorts of that stuff. And those guys, I mean, like they're coming in looking for those work style sleds as well. They got ultra wide tracks. So they're 24 inches wide, the track. They're 154 inch long, and they'll have carrying capacity well over 500 pounds. They can tow an ice fishing shack, for example. They have high and low range, so you can haul all sorts of gear through the bush, and they're just these big, robust, like work sleds. They're super cool.
So what do you love about it? About snowmobiling?
I love it all. I love riding the machines. I love the people that are involved with the sport as a whole. I love the community involvement. I mean, there's snowmobile rallies almost every single weekend of the winter, and they're all kind of hosted locally, mostly by volunteers, and mostly in, kind of smaller towns. And the people that go to them are just amazing, and they put on these amazing events, and it's so much fun.
Has it made you appreciate winter more? Winter in Saskatchewan?
It sure does. It definitely helps pass the time, that's for sure. Because you got to get outside. You got to do something, especially in these long, cold snaps.
Well, good to talk to you today, Burke. Thank you.
You as well. Great chatting with you. You have a nice day.
Burke Barber sells snowmobiles at Fun Motorsports in Saskatoon. I'm Leisha Grabinski. With us in our Regina studio today is Leah Switzer, the Executive Director of the Saskatchewan Snowmobile Association. Leah, are you in the market for a new sled? They come out tomorrow.
I'd love to. They have a really big price tag.
They do. I want to ask you about that because it's not the most accessible sport. I mean, they are expensive. What are your thoughts on that, on just how pricey it is to get into it?
It is a very expensive sport to get in. I mean, of course, there's also a very large used market, right? There's always those people, Burke, who's looking to buy a new one, would then sell off the older one. And that is sometimes the entrance for people to get in, is it's into the used market where they can start with something a little bit older, get the feel for it, and then work up. But it is not just the snowmobile, because the gear, it does add up too, because you have to have a proper fitting helmet. You need that good winter gear. Like you can't stress that one hard enough, it has to fit properly all over, and it has to be rated to keep you warm and dry. And that's not a cheap thing to just have to go out and get all of that stuff to do it, for sure. The nice way you can also look at, there are different companies in Saskatchewan that do rentals. If you're wanting to get a feel for, is this something for me? Sometimes the clubs in the different areas and the dealers in the different areas have little rides that if you've got access to a sled, they'll take people out in groups and kind of get a feel for it. So there are different ways to kind of get introduced to it. You can make do with your regular winter gear just to get that feel for it. But if you're going to do any amount of riding, you definitely need proper fitting gear.
So is that an active conversation that you're having with some of your club members? Is there a way to make this sport more accessible, more inclusive? I mean, when the price tag is so high, I mean, it is challenging. But is that an active conversation that you're having?
It's more of an active conversation we have on an international level. So as a provincial organization, we also belong to the Canadian Council of Snowmobile Organizations, and we meet with the International Manufacturers Association. So that's all your different snowmobile manufacturers, right? So you have those conversations on that level of because the manufacturers are honestly who are driving the prices of these things.
Why would you like to see more people get into it? I often ask that question to people. Like, I'm connected to the cross-country ski community, and I could give you an answer as to why I think everybody should cross-country ski. What would you say about snowmobiling?
You know what? And it's probably some of the same things you think. It's the mental and health benefits that there is to snowmobiling. It's that social aspect, getting out, whether it is just with your family group or your friend group, or just you pull up to one of the shelters and you're guaranteed to run into another group. And you meet them from wherever they were, and you learn, a little bit about them, where they came from. It's amazing how many times you find somebody that you actually know, right? Or know someone you know.
For sure.
It's the Saskatchewan thing. But it's just being out in nature as well. Super good for your mental health as well as your physical health. Snowmobiling is a physical exertion. Even if it's just trail riding, there are benefits, physical benefits to doing it. So it overall is just a really good way to spend your time.
And what makes it a good physical activity? Like that, for talking as someone who sees it as you're riding a device, you're not propelling it yourself. So what makes it such a great physical sport?
It honestly depends on your terrain. So the more twisty turny you are, you're moving that, right? So you'll definitely, if you haven't been out very much, you're going to feel it in your hands from squeezing the throttle. You'll feel it in your shoulders. And then it can be sometimes a little bit rougher. You're up and down a lot. And it's keeping you moving. You're not just sedentary, like sitting in the car.
Right. So other people we've had on the show today, I've asked them about the cold weather, and some had some pretty great stories. Do you have any stories that stand out from over the years of a time when you've been out, maybe something went wrong, or maybe it was just a really great day, but do you have any stories to leave us with before we say goodbye?
Well, it's that reminder of keeping all of the pieces of you covered, right? That exposed skin is going to lead to frostbite in the wrong conditions. And I've thankfully myself haven't experienced it. I've been with people a couple times that has occurred. But even when we were getting that Sask Wander video, it was colder than we would like it to be that day, the very first day. So we did what we called shelter hopping, and we literally jumped from one warm-up shelter to the next and getting shots in between because we had to do everything we could to keep ourselves warm, but they also had to keep the camera equipment warm. So.
Complicated. So what is your favorite spot in the province to go sledding?
I like trees, whether that's camping or anytime I'm into the trees, that's what I like. So that Hudson Bay area, Nipawin, that whole forested area is kind of my favorite. And that's just that personal preference of I love the feeling of being in the trees.
And then Regina Beach would be next on the list?
Well, I've lived there a lot of years. I mean, I love where we live. It is very beautiful. The valley is gorgeous. So I do always appreciate the scenery that's there. I guess I've gotten used to it over the years.
Yeah. Fair enough. Leah, it's been great talking to you about this. You made me appreciate this very cold Saskatchewan winter day, I think.
It is
I'll look out my window and be like, oh, there's so many things we can do here. Let's not let this cold get us down. So thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
That is Leah Switzer. She is Executive Director of the Saskatchewan Snowmobile Association. We talked to so many great people today. We heard from Burke Barber, who's a sale manager at Fun Motorsports in Saskatoon. We heard from someone up north near Grandmother's Bay who uses snowmobiles to go trapping, to go ice fishing. And so it's been really interesting hearing from folks. If you've been listening and you were reluctant to call in, but you want to send us an email, we still would love to hear your stories. So send us an email anytime, bluesky@cbc.ca. And I will remind you, it is very cold outside. The province is under an extreme cold warning, and it's kind of like eye-popping when you look at what the temperatures are. In Saskatoon right now, minus 36. With that wind chill, it feels more like minus 42. And tonight's the night where we could see some very cold temperatures. Looking at a wind chill, making it feel more like minus 50 overnight, and that is for much of the province. So temperatures hovering around minus 35, minus 36, and of course feeling much colder with that wind chill. It will feel more like minus 50. I'm Leisha Gravinsky. You've been listening to Blue Sky here on CBC Radio 1, 94.1 FM in Saskatoon.